Hey there, YouTube. I've got a little bit better camera now, and I wanted to sort of hold off on making videos for quite a while before I had something that's, at least acceptable quality. I've been filming with either a GoPro or a Sony Action Cam this whole time, and just didn't really cut the mustard for doing these videos. So I kind of just held back on producing more because I just don't. I don't want to make something good and then it be tarnished by low quality. So here I am back on YouTube. My camera setup's still not fully calibrated, but I really want to bang out some videos to make up for lost time. So here it is. So I last left you off with my Leaf bike, dual suspension motors. Well, not motorcycle, but e-bike. Well, it's kind of a motorcycle. I rode that bike for a while. I absolutely loved it. It fit almost all of my requirements for a bicycle, and I almost couldn't imagine something better, other than, of course, more battery. But what can you do with today's technology other than build a refrigerator on wheels, right? The problem with that bike is bicycle tires. I live in Utah, and we have lots of goat heads all over the place, and they get up to about 11 millimeters long, and I had tried pretty much every puncture-proof bicycle tire out there on the market and couldn't find one that was thicker than 7 millimeters. So I kind of gave up on that because I was having a flat tire like every other ride, and in short rides too, about 5, 10, 20 miles, something like that. So it was just becoming very expensive to ride the bike, and actually, when you consider replacing a tube every other ride, it starts to become more expensive than driving a gasoline car. Even if you are patching it, it's still, it's a cost you need to consider when it's happening every other time you ride your bike. And in addition to that, with a heavy motor like the Leaf motor, it's 16 pounds, so taking it off the bike while you're in the field is very inconvenient. And it could be 90 degrees out and you're sitting there baking in the sun while you unbolt this giant hub motor off and switch the tire out. It's just a pain in the butt. So I essentially decided to abandon bicycle tires as a whole after trying pretty much every puncture-proof tire on the market. Tire strips, which actually ended up popping one of my tubes. Yeah, yeah, right. And goo, which it works to a limited capacity. It kind of slows down the rate at which I destroy inner tubes, but then you can't really patch it because the tube is wet from the goo oozing out of it in the field. So once you've accumulated a couple hundred of these goat heads in your tire, then you're in an even worse situation than you were before without the goo. So when that fails, it's catastrophic. So I went on this mission to find a bicycle that uses 20-inch wheels, because you can fit a 16-inch motorcycle tire on a 20-inch bike tire, and it's been going on for quite a while. The first thing that I ordered was a down tube 9FS. It's a folding bike. It looks goofy, but I figured there's a lot of positive reports on it. It takes the 20-inch wheels. It has full suspension. Hopefully it'll work. Bought a demo model. It had a couple scuffs on it or whatever. The owner of the company said that it only had maybe like 10 miles on it. So I was like, okay, sure. It's a cheap experiment. I bought that. The rear end of the bike is very waggy, and this is something that I never saw in any kind of reviews of the bike. Everyone had very positive things to say about it, and there's even some people that converted it to an electric vehicle. But yeah, even under pedal power, the frame would just in the rear, and that made me feel really uncertain in it, and even electrifying it at a very low level. So and the suspension was horrible, and there were not many options for fixing that. So aside from a custom swing arm, there's really no saving the bike. So yeah, I sent that back off to eBay, and then I bought this Sun. I forget the name of it. It was like some chromoly mini velo thing, and I thought, hey, I'll add suspension to this, and since it's made out of chromoly, it's probably built to a fairly high quality, and the specifications of the bike and the measurements and pictures were very misleading. I am actually 6 feet tall, but I'm sort of a short torso, long limb type. So when I sit on a bike, I'm essentially 6'3" or so. And then so it was like almost like a joke bicycle. It just didn't even fit me, not even close. So I sent that back off to eBay. Spent a couple months discouraged, trying to find a bike that fit my needs. And then stumbled on a couple conversions of a Cannondale Hooligan, and it's basically a big BMX bike. So I thought, hey, this is perfect, and I know it's well built. I bought one that was a large size, assuming that large meant something. It's too small, and in addition to that, I like the bike so much that I tried a bunch of handlebars, and it's just way too off for me, so I can never fit it. And in addition to that, it also had the issue of 12 millimeter dropouts in the rear, which I've never seen that on any production bicycle before, and there's no hub motors for it. So only thing you could really do is put a motor on the front, but that requires you to switch out the Cannondale lefty fork for something and buy an adapter kit, and you really don't want a front motor, especially at high speed. With suspension, it's a recipe for getting yourself killed. So it has a eccentric bottom bracket adapter, so you don't just stick a bottom bracket in it, so it kind of like a mid drive is out of the question as well. So again, off to eBay with that, and so I was just very disappointed after that. I opened a bunch of threads on various forums looking for some bike that was had 20-inch wheels or smaller, had full suspension preferably, but I just take front suspension just because I'm desperate. Took wide wheels, that's a hard requirement to meet, and then fit an average size human, and also had the ability to fit batteries, and I just couldn't find anything. So that's basically the last 3 years of my life is I have flat anxiety instead of range anxiety. I've solved all the problems of an electric bicycle to build the ultimate thing, but it's the freaking tires that keep me off the road. So what I have been riding is a $300 road bike with puncture-proof tires that are extremely narrow. So I figure it's just a probability equation of, narrower tire, less ability to pick up goat heads and get a flat tire, which is true, actually. I got 2 flats over the course of 200 miles, and, I'm okay with that. The bike never got a motor. I was just pedaling it and, getting physical activity in. But, it's still, Utah is very hilly, in addition to it having very high speeds. So I was thrown in a lot of unsafe situations I normally wouldn't ride a bike in, and, came to my workspace completely drenched in sweat every time. So I figured, hey, I got to add a motor to this thing, and I just haven't done that just yet. I've just basically been riding a road bike and being a lacquer guy. But that's really not where I'd like to be. So I actually, through submitting a lot of threads and asking a lot of people for help on this, I ended up getting no assistance, and building a custom frame is kind of out of the question because I have no experience and wouldn't know what to tell a master frame builder to build in terms of geometry. And I would know that it would take several iterations of building frames to get a correct frame that I could actually enjoy. And after spending more thousands of dollars, then I have a product, but it doesn't really make sense to spend all that money. So I came across this weird thread that got me interested in semi-recumbent bicycles, and I found out that Cannondale actually made a semi-recumbent that was a little bit more on the recumbent side, less of the semi. And it's December now, and I figured, okay, there's probably a lot of people trying to sell stuff for Christmas money. And I was right. There's a lot of cheap stuff on eBay. So I found a Cannondale recumbent with the 20-inch wheel in the back and a 16-inch wheel on the front. And I paid $500 for it, which was freaking outstanding. I feel like I stole it. It's magic. I mean, the Hooligan actually cost me $800 on eBay, and I only sold it for $700. So we could say that $700 is approximately the value, but this recumbent was just sitting on there, and the guy just took my lowball offer, no problem. So actually, if you want to go that way, you might have an easy time finding one. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm going into the recumbent world. Not that I exactly want to. It's just that you got to get around. I really hate driving my car. I've got a brand new car. It's extremely fuel efficient, but it's still 2,500 pounds of metal to go down the road, and I get zero exercise in it. And I really think that a bicycle is the thing you should be commuting on as much as possible. So I'm going to build this thing up and show you in the future, what this thing can do. One cool thing about a semi-recumbent is you have approximate 20% aerodynamic advantage over a regular sit-up bike. So you can go quite a bit further with the same amount of battery. And since batteries are still kind of limited in their capacity, that's fantastic. Either that, or you can just go faster on the same watts. And the Cannondale rides like a freaking couch. So with full suspension on both sides. So that's really nice. And using a 20-inch wheel is a huge power advantage in a hub motor because you can get the wheels spinning faster, and therefore the hub motor can make something like 20% more continuous power and more potential torque. So this thing's gonna fucking rip. I'm gonna start out with maybe a motor that does 30 miles per hour just to see how the chassis handles going fast. One thing I noticed is that at slow speeds it's extremely unstable. It's very hard to get started because you don't have your body weight to balance you very well. I haven't got the hang of that. Like every time I get started from a stop when I'm pedaling, it's kind of like I curve outside of the lane a little bit, and I don't really have the hang of it just yet. I've only ridden it once. One hitch about recumbent bicycles, there's not a lot of them on the road. People don't know what the hell it is, and you just get a lot of attention. There's just people staring at you on the road like, what the hell is this? And I figure if I get going fast enough, they don't have enough time to give me unwanted attention. So I want to build a thing to do about 45 miles per hour so I can safely travel along roads where you'd be doing 20, 15 or so on a bicycle, and traffic's doing 40, 45, and you've got no bike lane. And you're completely unsafe. So I want the same, sort of vibe. So in the future, I will be showing you a really weird and wild looking recumbent. And, maybe it'll convince some guys in the e-bike world to think about these recumbents because we're so limited by battery that it's not even funny. If you want to go long distance touring, a recumbent's actually the best thing you can get. Even a $10,000 road bike with carbon fiber and taper tubes and every single thing you can throw at it is less efficient than a poorly designed semi-recumbent bicycle. So just imagine once you start adding fairings and stuff to a recumbent bicycle, you're just you're breaking speed records on very little power. So yeah, so there'll be more of that in the future, and yeah, I'm going to bang out a couple more videos today, and you'll see those. All right.